civic bodies must set an example. Using that line, Supreme Court has today given its nod to a Haryana law which says, among other things, that you must have a toilet if you want to fight for Panchayat elections. Not only that, you must also be at least class 10 pass. Women and Dalits can be class 8 or class 5 pass. But these are some of the conditions that they've set, and the new law also says that if you have been a defaulter of your loan, then you will be disqualified as well. Women's groups, PUCL, they have all been protesting against this, and today Supreme Court has given its nod, and that's why we're just going to talk to people about what this means, because Chief Minister of Haryana has now said that this is a great idea, that they've been vindicated by passing this law, and they're saying next it'll be MLAs and MPs. Remember that it's just been a few weeks ago, that Bihar's Deputy Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav, he's a class 9 pass. So it's interesting that this has now become law. And why is it that women's groups are protesting? So let me just introduce the panel on this. Here on location with me, we have Jagmati Sangwan, and they have been fighting for it on behalf of women's groups. In fact, one woman who's a Panchayat member, she has been fighting against it in Rajasthan as well. We also have Indira Jaising, who has been arguing on this on behalf of PUCL. We have Chhavi Rajawat, a Sarpanch from Rajasthan, also joining us from Jaipur. And we have Baldev Raj Mahajan. He's the Senior Advocate General of Haryana. He joins us from Chandigarh. Indira Jaising, if we can just start with you. The Supreme Court, when it came out with this order, made some interesting observations. It said only education gives the right to discriminate between right and wrong. What do you think of that?
Well, to my experience, some of the most educated people I know are the most corrupt. And so it's difficult to understand what the Supreme Court means when they say that it's only education that gives human beings the power to discriminate between right and wrong, good and bad. In my experience, it's only life that teaches you the experience of what's right and wrong. And how do you define what is education? Is it formal education that teaches you what's right and wrong, or education which comes from other means, from other ways of living, from other ways of being? And some of the women that I have met who have contested for Panchayat elections in Rajasthan are illiterate, and yet they have been to the United Nations, addressed the United Nations, and they have educated themselves. Now these are the women that are going to be disqualified from contesting for the positions of Sarpanch. I think it's a great loss of human capital to society.
Yeah, I wanted to bring in the Advocate General over here. Baldev Rajji, you heard what Indira Jaising said. Her words exactly were some of the most educated are also some of the most corrupt. How do you respond to what she's saying?
Madam, I have heard what Ms. Indira Jaising is saying, but the formal education in the changed scenario of the country is also necessary to contest the elections in Panchayats. Panchayat is the basic, virtually the organization for ruling and the administration and for organization. Since at the Panchayat level now, number of schemes are to be implemented in the state, and Digital India, with the Digital India scheme being in there, now at least basic education is required, and once basic education is required, then formal education is also necessary for it. And we taking into consideration the change scenario in the country, and particularly in our state, has decided that the basic education must be provided for the village leaders also, because virtually they are the leaders to whom the people of the villages are to follow. So if the village leaders are in this change scenario are required to be educated, and once all the schemes are to be implemented by them, so basic education is necessary, and which now the courts has also upheld that such kind of education is necessary.
Right. So Jagmati ji, we've heard what the state of Haryana says. They are taking it as a huge victory. Why is it so wrong? Because you have all been protesting. Why?
देखिए, आज का दिन जो है वो बहुत ही निराशा भरा है हमारे लिए, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट जिसके ऊपर कोई न्याय का अदालत नहीं है, उसने आज मानवाधिकार दिवस के ऊपर 67% सिटीजन्स ऑफ हरियाणा उनको पंचायत का चुनाव लड़ने से एक्सक्लूड कर दिया। आज जब हवाएं इंक्लूजन की बह रही है, उसके विपरीत एक्सक्लूजन वो कर रहे हैं। और वो भी दूसरा हम ये कहते हैं कि माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, हमें नहीं पता इनोसेंटली या नोइंगली अलाइंग विद द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, उन्होंने बिल्कुल गलत आंकड़े, झूठे आंकड़े जो
आंकड़े गलत है,
या उन्होंने कहा कि 57% आर एलिजिबल टू कंटेस्ट द इलेक्शन, वेयर एज दिस इज रॉन्ग एंड दिस इज बेसलेस।
57% is a very small,
very small. Actually, on the basis of the census of 2011, it is 33% people who are eligible to contest the election
under this criteria.
Yes, and they have given in writing as affidavit in the Supreme Court, and the Honorable Supreme Court, they have referred those data and
okay, so let's understand this. You're
data making in their verdict.
Yeah, Jagmati ji, you're making a very significant statement कि only 33%, according to this, matlab 2 out of 3 women will be excluded, women or other contestants.
और लोकतंत्र
तो क्या मतलब, is it because उनके घर पे टॉयलेट नहीं है? Is that the problem?
5 शर्तें उन्होंने रखी थी। सबसे पहली शर्त उन्होंने रखी कि एजुकेशन का मैट्रिक पास होना चाहिए। उसके बाद उन्होंने रखा कि पक्का टॉयलेट होना चाहिए। उसका साइज,
we know the thing. So which is the problematic one? इनमें से कौन से?
मोस्ट प्रॉब्लमैटिक इनमें से ये है कि जो एजुकेशन जो है वो केवल इंडिविजुअल की इच्छा पर निर्भर नहीं करता कि वो मतलब पढ़ना चाहता या नहीं चाहता। आपकी जो सुविधाएं हैं, जिसमें हर पंचवर्षीय योजना के बाद सरकार ने अपनी असफलता को,
I'm going to interrupt you because this young man, he was saying exactly the same thing, and he's, as our student audience, आप भी ये कहते कि it's wrong, but tell them what you have to say.
मैम, मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि जब तक भारत सरकार जो राइट टू एजुकेशन है, जो उसको जमीन पर सही तरह से लागू नहीं करती है, इतने बच्चे हैं जो देश में पढ़ना चाहते हैं, आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं, लेकिन जो राइट टू एजुकेशन है पूरी तरह से इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो पा रहा है। एक और दूसरी तरफ आप कह रहे हैं कि पंचायत चुनाव लड़ने के लिए आपको 10वीं पास, 8वीं पास या 5वीं पास होना चाहिए। तो ये कहीं ना कहीं डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स दिखाता है।
So that's where I want to bring in Chavi Rajawat, who is one of those most educated sarpanches that we have. Chavi Rajawat, what do you say about these concerns that people have that it's exclusionary?
Yes, it is unfortunate that that is happening. But if I were to share my own experience as a सरपंच, क्योंकि अभी जो भी लोग बोले हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता वो सरपंच के चुनाव लड़े हैं या सरपंच का रोल उन्होंने प्ले किया है. So from my own experience, what I have realized is that unless and until one is not literate enough to understand what kind of documents he or she is signing, people will only take advantage, be it the Panchayat Secretary, be it the Patwari, be it the SHO. At every level, people are out there to take advantage of the ignorance that exists, and often that arises out of the fact that many of us in the Panchayats at that level are illiterate. So that is the biggest concern that I would pose in front of you for those of you who have not been sarpanches. And I think, given the fact that Panchayats in rural sector covers the largest population in our country, we have to look forward to affirmative actions. Yes, in the interim, in the short term, yes, it is painful, but if you look at the long-term vision, if we want a growth of the nation in a positive manner, if we want the growth of the rural sector, which we all know hasn't happened for so many decades, then it is important that such affirmative actions need to be taken. Having said that, I would not say that this should only apply to elected representatives in Panchayati Raj. It should be applied to every leader at every level across the country.
Yeah, which is what they're proposing to do. I just want Indira Jaising to respond to what you said. Indira Jaising, do you want to respond to what Chavi is saying? That otherwise they'll be taken for a ride. So isn't that a valid concern?
I do. I do want to respond. You know, even I told the Supreme Court that Today you go to rural India and you ask any woman, what do you desire, what do you want? And some of them will tell you, I want to be a pilot, some of them will tell you, I want to be a doctor, some of them will tell you, I want to be a teacher. This is not about aspirations. Every single human being in India today, rich or poor, has aspirations. It is about the duty of the state. She talked about the word affirmative action, but affirmative action actually means there's an obligation on the state to fulfill the right to education. And as somebody pointed out on your show, the right to primary education was introduced in the year 2010. Until you can guarantee that the state can put every child in a school, and in a school which is a good school, which actually teaches, you have no right to say that if you're not educated, you cannot contest an election. So this is not about what I want and what I don't want. If you read what the court has to say about toilets, can you give me a minute? If you read what the court has to say about toilets, I find it very shocking. What the court is saying is, it is not for reasons of poverty that people don't have a toilet. It's because they don't want a toilet. Now, this is like being in denial. The court is in denial. What was pointed out to the court is that 29% of the population of Haryana has no permanent housing. It was also pointed out that more than 30 to 40% of the people are actually homeless. And my question would be, if you're homeless, where do you build a toilet? A lot of other people in the state of Haryana have homes which are dilapidated. A lot of them have homes which have only one room. And you are telling these people, okay, more importantly, there is no 100% underground drainage in the state of Haryana. A lot of the drains are open drains running through the villages and running through the panchayat areas, which cause more disease than anything else. And do you know that in the state of Haryana, you still have manual scavenging? You have people who are made to pick up other people's excreta. So my question is, in this kind of situation, you're telling people that you don't want toilets, not because you're poor, but because you don't wish to have a toilet. Now, tell me, is this what you would expect?
We will get,
is this what you would expect from the Supreme Court of
government
India?
Representative to just respond to all those really crucial points you're raising. We'll get him to respond to that. We'll just take a short break, and Jagmati Sagman also wants to come in over here. Short break and be right back.